It's 5:04. KBNU weather tonight. Rain showers likely. Chance of thunderstorms this evening. Then a chance of showers and thunderstorms after midnight. Overnight low in the mid-40s. North winds 10 to 20 miles an hour tonight. Partly cloudy. Chance of a few rain showers in the morning, but partly cloudy by afternoon. It will be continued cool weather. Upper 60s for the high. Warming up later on this week, lower 70s Wednesday, lower 80s on Thursday. It's been to 71. It's 67 right now at KBNU. Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology, Cache Valley's most trusted name in hearing aid technology. Give Dr. Paul Daines a call at 753-HEAR or visit CacheHearing.com.
This is David from Roof Rescue. This past winter in Cache Valley was the worst in recent memory, reminding us of the sheer power of Mother Nature. Snow, ice dams, and record low temperatures left behind a trail of leaks, broken gutters, and damaged roofs. Let's get those issues inspected and addressed so that when next winter comes around, you can focus your attention on your family, the holidays, and winter activities instead of leaks, drips, and ice dams. Call today for your complimentary inspection at 435-999-4268 or visit us at roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KBNU News Time is 5:06. Utah's economy continues to thrive as the state's non-farm payroll employment for May 2023 experienced a significant increase of about 2.9% over the past 12 months. This growth has resulted in the addition of an impressive 48,900 jobs since May 2022, bringing Utah's total job count to over 1.7 million workers. According to the latest estimates, May's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate in Utah stands at a low 2.3%. Mark Nold, chief economist at the Department of Workforce Services, is optimistic about the state's economic prospects with an influx of workers unleashed on the Utah economy due to recent high school and college graduation.
These graduates are coming into a Utah job market that is particularly strong and is thirsting for new labor. The Utah job market will absorb all that it can get, and thus why we see a noticeable uptick in the state's growth rate for May.
Nold says this influx of young workers is vital to the expansion and vibrancy of Utah's economy.
I can't think of a year where there's been a better time for teenage summer employment opportunities. The unemployment rate is rock bottom at 2.3%. There are more job openings out there than are getting filled, and the economy is searching for labor.
According to the May report, Utah's private sector employment exhibited strong growth, recording a year-over-year expansion of 2.9%, which translates to an increase of 41,500 jobs. And a 40-year-old Hurricane man was injured in a two-vehicle crash early Sunday morning, according to Idaho State Police. The accident occurred at 12:20 a.m. on US 91 in Fort Hall. ISP officers report a 34-year-old Pocatello man was driving a Dodge Ram southbound on the highway. The 40-year-old male from Hurricane was driving a Ford Mustang eastbound. The Mustang failed to yield to traffic in the southbound lane of US 91 and was struck by the Dodge Ram. The driver of the Mustang was transported via ground ambulance to a local hospital. He was not wearing a seatbelt. The roadway was blocked for about 1 hour. KBNU News Time is 5:08. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Where news and talk comes first. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Here's Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
The way you water your lawn makes a big difference. Water restrictions and water costs have both increased over the last few years. The Lawn Doctor offers a popular service to help keep your lawn green and healthy while watering less. One application of our HydroGuard service reduces your watering frequency by up to 1 day a week, saving you water and money.
Watering help, weed, fertilizer, and pest control. Call the Lawn Doctor at 753-LAWN or go to lawndoctor.com.
If you've lost someone to suicide, you know the feelings: isolation, abandonment, anger. But you should also know that you're not alone. 91% of Utahns say they've been impacted by the loss of a family member, friend, coworker, or neighbor to suicide. And there is support for those left behind. Find resources and connect with others who have similar experiences by visiting liveonutah.org. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Learn what you can do at liveonutah.org. Supported by the Strong Auto Group.
Are you blind or losing vision? Do you feel like it's controlling your life and your decisions? possibly limiting you? Well, I've been there. But through the National Federation of the Blind, I have learned that I don't have to allow blindness to define me, and you don't have to either. To learn more and find the support you need, simply visit blind.org. That's blind.org. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
When you take a walk around your neighborhood and notice all the things that make it feel like home, like all the houses lined neatly together in a row, or your neighbor, Miss Rita, who always waves at you when you drive down the street, or that movie theater in the strip mall that might look a little worn down, but has the best popcorn you've ever tasted. One thing might be a little harder to notice, because somewhere tucked in that neat row of houses is hunger. It could be your next door neighbor, or your coworker, or your daughter's friend from school, because over 30 million Americans don't know where their next meal is coming from. Hunger lives in neighborhoods all around us, but it doesn't have to. At Albertsons Companies and Safeway Foundations, we are on a mission to provide 1 billion meals by 2030, because everyone should be welcome at the table. Learn more at nourishingneighbors.com. Let's break the cycle of hunger together.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Going to extend our conversation from hour one just a bit here as I've continued to pick through the Facebook comments. A lot of insightful things here from various listeners on this proposal to demolish the Cache Valley Mall and in its place build apartments and a hotel and maybe a Target. Full story at CacheValleyDaily.com. More than 200, almost 250 now, comments on the News Talk KVNU Facebook post that shared the link earlier this morning, about 8 hours ago. People have some strong feelings about this. And I've just been picking through the comments as we've gone through the show here, taking calls from listeners and more. If you'd like to weigh in, please do, 753-5868. As I mentioned in hour one, I felt a wave of nostalgia for the mall when I first realized this is likely to happen. The mall's likely going to be demolished because I spent, not a lot of time, but and maybe that's why it's going. But over the years, there's no part of my life where the mall didn't come up once or twice a year or more than that. At times, more than that. Again, used to get dropped off at Aladdin's Castle. Play the arcade games there for an hour, and then go to a movie at the Mann Theater, just a quick walk away.
Yeah, little walk across the parking lot.
That's right. And that seemed huge at the time, but in retrospect, that was a tiny theater.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seemed huge. And
a nice repurpose for that building.
Yeah,
what they've done with it.
Now that's a great example, I think, of what can happen in these spaces in a positive way. I'm not sure, and so, well, I shouldn't say. I believe the old Wells Fargo building right on Main Street is still empty. It might not be, but it was for a long time. I know that Arby's just did a big rebuild there. They just revamped their whole thing, and so the space still works, and it's drawing in businesses. Like I say, I talked to some of the in the food court there. I talked to a couple of the franchise owners there once. This was at a Chamber of Commerce thing, and they said they're doing great. But they do notice it's a weekend thing. They do their best on the weekend, and that carries them through the rest of the week. The mall itself, though, last time I was in there, I'll be honest with you, it was a sad experience. It was just a lot of vacant stores, very quiet, not a lot of foot traffic. And malls in general have just fallen out of favor. They are now considered sort of a waste of space for cities, the closer they are to downtown especially. This space is prime real estate. Going through the more than 200, almost 250 now comments on Facebook, again, very few people saying keep the mall. Most people seem to be objecting to the idea of apartment buildings and a hotel. Some people saying we don't need any more housing. I completely disagree. Others, though, just saying this is not a good spot for it, which is a reasonable thing to say. A lot of people want to see something more recreational there, like an indoor water park. I don't know. What is the Topgolf thing? Many people want to see a Topgolf there. And I tell you, no offense to golfers, but I cannot think of a less well-thought-out use of that space than a Topgolf. Although a Topgolf, I'm sure, would do fine. That's a very niche market. And, yeah.
Well, it'd be seasonal, right? Because
I think
it is part of it's outdoors.
Topgolf does build them in ways, in certain locations, they're year-round. But, yeah, I think it's pretty expensive for them to do that, and they need a lot of space. And like I say, it would do well, but I think at that point you're just basically handing this entire space off to one niche market, and the city's not going to do that. That would be a foolish decision. But yeah, a lot of different reactions here. Again, few people saying keep the mall, but a lot of disagreement over whether apartments and a hotel are the best use of the space. People seem to want more fun stuff to do in Logan, and they feel like that's a great place for it. Although I don't know, because so a lot of mentions here for an indoor water park. And that's something, those also were really popular at the time, and they've also kind of fallen out of favor. They don't do as well anymore like they used to in the 80s and early 90s. Do you remember the water park right off the freeway in Plain City, I think, roughly? Yeah. Went there one time. Scratchy slides. Very scratchy. I don't know who was running that thing. Anyway.
Well, I remember Logana out on 14th North here.
I remember
locally.
Logana. I remember I have this burned into my memory, Logana, and then the wrecking yard just north of Logana.
What do we call it?
Economy Auto, yeah. And I remember getting dropped off at Logana, and you could see the wrecking yard from the top of the hill where the slide started, and man,
the view. Yeah,
thought I was going to drown in the big kids pool. Swore that was going to be the death of me. Yeah, and they had Galaga in the arcade game in the lobby. That was it was old school then. The point is here, things change, things go away. You can't keep things the same. And a reaction to the mall proposal, which again, if everything goes as proposed, means the mall would be demolished by the end of this year. This would move fast. It'd take 2 years for everything to be done, from the apartments to the hotel to this 150,000 square foot location for, quote, retail, which, by the way, 150,000 square feet is exactly what Target requires to locate somewhere. And I don't hate this proposal, but I really think there's room for discussion about other uses, or even other designs. The apartment buildings would be broken up into 4 separate buildings. The hotel would be somewhere near on site. The Target would be sort of the southeast, the Target would be closest to the corner, so you'd see that from the street. What do you think? 753-5868. A lot of listener reaction coming in here during the show. We'll get to some of the texts on that, and then we do have a caller on the line. For some reason, Bill, my chat is not loading. So can you tell us who we have here?
We have Dewey.
Dewey, go ahead.
Yeah. So thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Just a little background. I managed the mall from 2005 to 2013, to 2017.
Wow.
And yeah, so there's a lot of my blood, sweat, and tears at that shopping center. So
sure. Now Dewey, that was kind of a period of revival for the mall, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that was a period it was really fun to be the mall manager.
Oh, I'll bet. There was a lot going on.
A lot of attention, a lot of buy-in from the company that I worked for, the community, everything. So it was a fun time.
Sure.
And I guess the thing that I was going to share today is that in 2013, I did a case study on what are the next steps for our shopping center. Everybody in our company did that for their particular shopping center.
Oh, wow.
And what's ironic about this is that what they're proposing today is similar to what I had come up with in 2013 as a case study. And I'm not saying that I'm smart. I'm just saying that that's what kind of what all the indications were, how the center was going, our strengths, weaknesses, so forth.
Really?
Yeah. So with that said, I think it's a great idea. What I'm worried about, if I have any worry at all, and of course I got some buy-in because I managed it for so long, is that it doesn't get inventive enough. I hear the comments that you've shared on the radio today from the listeners about, adding this or that or the other thing, and they're right. They need to be going a little more inventive instead of being. I think that what they're proposing is kind of a little conservative, in my opinion.
Sure.
And could be they could be a little more inventive. So
you think they could get a little more creative with using the space, and Dewey, I think that's where I'm falling on this. I'm not opposed to the apartments or the hotel or the Target, and all those things I'm sure would do really well there. But I'm leaning more towards what you just said, that I feel like this is such prime real estate. That's why the mall was built there, right? Well, to be honest with you, the mall was built there before it was prime real estate, but people knew it would be, right?
That's correct.
And so I feel like we could get a little more creative with this. Dewey, do you remember when you were digging into this, doing this research? Did you ever get a sense that, because a lot of the comments I'm seeing here on our Facebook page, what surprises me, not that I disagree, but it surprises me, I didn't expect this. A lot of people are saying enough with using these spaces just for retail. Bring in some recreational opportunities, some fun things. There's a lot of mentions. I told you, for some reason, there's a handful of listeners here on the Facebook page that are, I don't know if they're being paid by Topgolf or what, but they are all over the place with the Topgolf. But I've seen indoor water park suggestions. I've seen, gaming centers and even outdoor recreation opportunities in the middle of the apartments. And so recreation and fun seems to be something that's bubbling up a lot here. Do you remember when you did your research, if that was something that what was reflected in the trends? As something that would be popular?
Yes, and it was kind of at the beginning stages of that. One of the biggest things that I was promoting was an indoor soccer practice facility of some sort, because at that time the growth rate of soccer was so huge.
Oh yeah.
But where do you play soccer in Logan in the winter?
Yeah, that's right. That is.
And I'm the biggest problem I have is I'm not a soccer fan, so. I didn't have the knowledge base to say, hey, yeah, this is why. But I did know that was a upcoming trend, and that was part of it then, is to say we need recreation. This valley is all about recreation. As soon as we get snow off the ground, we're heading for the hills, walking, biking, jeeping, whatever we can do to get out and recreate.
Sure. That's and for me, I recognize this as well, Dewey, that it does. So in your position there, when you were managing for the city's situation now, where they've got to try and plan, I feel like the one thing that for me, if I got to wave a magic wand and decide one thing, I would say let's do this in a way that can be easily repurposed as these trends and fads come and go. So you're not constantly tearing things down, building things back up. Make it something that could be used in multiple ways, and that kind of shoots out. My point here, I guess, Dewey, is I recognize the difficulty of this is that a lot of it is personal preference. I would love to see in that spot something kind of just like the mall, but more like Stations Landing, where it's just an outdoor mall. There's a lot more space between the stores, and they're all in separate buildings, and there's outdoor eating space and all that. But that's absolutely useless in the wintertime for the most part, and I recognize that. That's something I enjoy. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best use of that space, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges that always existed while I was there was in the national retail scheme, your second best shopping day is Sunday.
Oh wow!
And in Logan specifically, in Utah it's hard, but in Logan specifically, the culture here is not to shop on Sunday. It's all about family, and so you really had a barrier of entry of the national tenants because of Sunday sales being so low, and because we had to stay open, because we had department stores that dictated our hours, we had a barrier to entry to the local retailers that said they had to open on Sunday. So it was just this two-edged sword the whole time. So with that said, I'm hoping that the retailers they bring in will see the benefits of both some that can close on Sunday, some that don't have to be open on Sunday. That's why an open air facility like what you're speaking of really makes a lot of sense in this town.
Dewey, I really appreciate this. It's great to get your perspective and someone who's been right there in the middle of this at a time when, when there was so much change, but also as we started here, a time when the mall was kind of seeing a bit of a resurgence as well. That it's unique to be able to hear what you experienced and what you learned about where things are going. If you had to, if your choice was, between this proposal or keep the mall, would you go with this proposal?
I would drive my tractor over there tomorrow and start tearing down buildings.
Fair enough. Dewey, really appreciate the phone call here. It's great to get your unique perspective on this, and I hope you don't mind if I repeat a lot of things that you've said as we continue this discussion.
You're more than welcome to do so. My opinions are mine, but they're based off of some facts and some things that I've done over the years. So it's perfectly fine for you to do what you want with it.
Perfect. Thank you, Dewey, very much. And if you can, hold on just a bit here. Bill has a question for you. And Bill, as you talk with Dewey, we'll move to our next caller, which is Rick. Is that correct? All right.
That's correct.
Rick, go ahead. Your thoughts.
Yeah, I really don't have anything against or for the tearing down of the mall and building something new there. But there's two things that I would not like to see there. One is multifamily housing, because it's pretty well a universal fact across the country that where you increase that kind of housing, high-density housing, the crime rate goes up. And the other thing is I don't want to see a Target store in there. In the recent headlines, you've seen the big debacle about their line of clothing for children.
Sure.
And that does not meet our community standards.
I mean, to be honest with you, the stores here in Logan were selling the same thing. It just didn't become a Facebook meme to challenge that. What I'm saying is I think Target would be fine if they came in. My question to you and all of our listeners is, do we need it or want it? I mean, is it? I think it would be sustainable. There's enough people to shop at Target, but is that the best use of the space? A big retail store? I don't know.
Probably not.
How do you feel, Rick, about all these suggestions on the Facebook page about recreational opportunities? That seems like such an impossible challenge because everyone has their favorite. I'm seeing a lot of mentions here about Top Golf. A lot of people saying put Top Golf there. I could care less about a Top Golf, but I might be excited about something else. How do you meet everyone's expectations there, right?
Well, you can't. You just can't. It's like just like any situation, you can't make everybody happy about it because everybody has their own likes and dislikes and their own opinions.
Sure.
And that'll be a masterful, complicated decision to make on what they decide to do with that land after they tear it down.
That is well said, Rick. I don't envy the city having to juggle this. What does surprise me, you touch on something there, Rick, that I'm not saying this should be concerned. I'm not trying to get people to show up at Logan City Council meetings screaming with signs and all that. But this is a fast timeline. This does imply that this proposal has been submitted, and there will be, obviously the legal, period of public comment and things like that, chances to attend city council meetings. But I'm guessing the city is feeling some pressure at this point to make a decision in time for this proposal to move forward, if that's where they decide to go. And so this is prime real estate in so many ways. As Rick has said, as Dewey said before him, what we do with this, I think, is really important. And could define the character of the city in as much as, well, not as much, but close to as much as downtown does. And so doing the right thing with this is important. Rick, I'm gonna steal that from you, Rick. Your characterization of how this decision will play out and managing it, that was just so well said.
Well, you know that any time a decision's made with the local government, there's always the happies and the not happies.
Sure. Yeah, you can't please everyone, so you try to plan the best you can, right?
Yeah, you try to get as much input as you can, and maybe that's something they need to slow this thing down for and get a little bit more input before they move ahead with it.
Sure. And Rick, thanks for being on my team. Could care less about a Top Golf, because I would so disappointed to see the space used in that way. Rick, appreciate the call. Great observations you have there. And for others, we can keep this going if you'd like. 753-5868, proposal to demolish the Cache Valley Mall at the end of this year and replace it with 342 apartments, nearly 200-room hotel building, and a 150,000 square foot retail location, which is exactly the size Target demands to locate somewhere. What do you think? 753-5868. More than 250 at this point comments on the Facebook post posted just hours ago on the News Talk KVNU Facebook page, linking to the CacheValleyDaily.com story as this news broke today. Curious, what do you want to see go there? Or would you like to keep them all? Where are you at? 753-5868. A look at the news now with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:31, and the news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. More than 600 members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and community residents gathered Saturday morning for the groundbreaking ceremony of the Montpelier, Idaho Temple. The event marked not only the beginning of the temple's construction, but also the opportunity to honor early settlers of the Bear Lake Valley. Ryan K. Olson of the church's Quorum of the 70 presided at the meeting. He discussed the significance of the groundbreaking ceremony and explained that when completed, the temple would add to the beauty of the community.
The idea of groundbreaking comes from the act of physically breaking the earth to prepare the land and making a sacred deposit in exchange for a solid and lasting foundation, thereby symbolically consecrating the building location.
Now, no timetable was discussed for when completion will be completed. A public open house will be held before it's dedicated. In addition to the Montpelier Temple, Idaho has 8 other temples in operation, under construction, or announced in Boise, Burley, Idaho Falls, Meridian, Pocatello, Rexburg, with Rexburg, Idaho Temple and the Rexburg, Idaho North Temple, and Twin Falls. As of July 1st, Logan City will no longer be the sole collection provider in Cache County. That is affecting certain cities in the county, including Richmond. The northern Cache Valley city is contracted with EconoWaste moving forward. According to a press release, beginning on that date, EconoWaste will be servicing Richmond, Smithfield, and Lewiston. While all 3 cities have separate contracts, they are using the same carrier. The majority of the other cities in the valley are using a different carrier. The black garbage cans will continue to be dumped each Friday like in the past. The only noticeable change to the service will be the color of the truck that's dumping the cans. Unfortunately, with the change, recycling service will not be part of the plan, and it will stop with the June 23rd pickup. The press release from Richmond City mentions that the city council and mayor looked at several different options for recycling and greenway service, and none of them were a cost-effective option. And we talked to Richmond's mayor about that, Paul Erickson, a little bit earlier today. We'll have some of his comments on later KVNU newscasts. And a teenager injured her legs after officials said she fell about 70 feet into the water at Gunlock Falls. They said the 18-year-old was cliff jumping at the falls when she fell feet first. Utah State Park officials said the woman sustained non-life-threatening injuries to her legs, including femurs. State Park Rangers and Washington County Search and Rescue responded to assist. The teen was taken in stable condition via life flight to St. George Regional Hospital. KVNU News Time is 5:34.
Are you a hot sleeper? Warm summer nights can make it hard to sleep. UNI Furniture recommends sleeping cooler with a gel memory foam mattress. UNI features a copper-infused gel memory foam that helps with coolness and circulation. It moves better with you, giving you the best night's sleep. UNI is also the home of Chair Heaven. There's a reason they sell so many chairs, including recliners. For over 90 years, there's always been a better buy at UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
A search for a missing small sub in the middle of nowhere in the North Atlantic, a sub where 5 people aboard were going 2.5 miles down to take a look at the Titanic shipwreck. Contact was lost yesterday. U.S. Coast Guard Rear Admiral John Mauger in Boston.
Right now we're focused on locating the vessel, but at the same time, if we find this vessel in the water, then we will have to effect some sort of rescue.
There's enough air supply in the sub to last into Wednesday. Law enforcers say the white powder in letters sent to Kansas officials is harmless, but there are over 100 letters now and delivered to national celebrities, including President Trump and Supreme Court Justice Thomas. Tropical storm Brett's formed over the central Atlantic. Forecasters expect it to be a hurricane threat in the Caribbean this weekend. Today, Juneteenth, thousands visited the National Archives in Washington, where the rarely viewed and very fragile Emancipation Proclamation and General Order No. 3 were open for public viewing. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, rain showers likely, chance of thunderstorms this evening, chance of a shower or thunderstorm after midnight, low in the mid-40s. A few rain showers later in the morning, but then partly cloudy by afternoon on Tuesday, high temperature in the upper 60s. Sunny, warmer Wednesday, lower 70s, lower 80s by Thursday. It's been to 71. It's 64 degrees right now at KVNU. KVNU weather is brought to you by the Lawn Doctor. The Lawn Doctor's 2-service soil enrichment program will help increase the size and number of roots in your grass. Find out more from the Lawn Doctor. Call 753-LAWN. And for more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
The Murdoch Summer Tour sales event is here. At Murdoch Volkswagen, we are turning up the volume on savings. For those summer days with the windows down and tunes playing loud, Murdoch Volkswagen has the perfect ride to make your summer unforgettable. Right now, receive 1.9% for 3 years on a new Tiguan or Taos. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Volkswagen in Logan or online at murdochvw.com.
Call 866-628-3065 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 7/5/2023.
The landscaping season is now in full swing, and Canyon Landscaping is still booking for this season. For over 2 decades, Canyon Landscaping has been Cache Valley's leader of new and existing home landscaping projects. Spots are filling fast, so don't wait any longer for your outdoor living to become an extension of your home. To get your project going, request an appointment online at canyonlandscaping.com or call 752-3838. Let's get started on your yard. 752-3838. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. Who's been better at stewarding the American economy, President Biden or former President Trump? We'll have a comparison. Also, the rise and fall of the bait-and-switch job interview in which a stand-in person helps the actual applicant land the gig. And a flight attendant has 12 rules to follow for air travel. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Just like you, a healthy tree is a happy tree. At Hull Tree Care, their team is dedicated to caring for your trees. By now, your trees and shrubs are growing like crazy. Perhaps you have some trees blocking your view or posing a potential threat. If so, call Hull Tree Care. They'll get your trees in perfect shape and enhance their beauty. Need a tree or stump removed? No problem. Their cleanup crew will leave your yard clean and tidy. Call 760-6587. That's 760-6587. Or visit hulltreecare.com.
Cool news story. Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Happy to keep this conversation going as long as our listeners want to. 5868. We started the show with this. We're still going on it. Proposal unveiled. CacheValleyDaily.com has the story to demolish the Cache Valley Mall. According to this proposal, that would happen at the end of this year. And then over the next 2 years, in its place would be construction of 340-something, I lost the paper, 342 apartments in 4 different apartment buildings, a 200-room hotel, roughly 156 room, hotel. I rounded up too much. And a 150,000 square foot space for a single retail company, which is exactly what Target requires for one of their stores. I'm sure that is not a coincidence. So let's just go ahead and say it. The proposal is 4 apartment buildings, a hotel, and a Target in place of the current site, or on the current site of the Cache Valley Mall. More than 250, almost 270 at this point, comments on our Facebook page, the News Talk KVNU Facebook page. And I've shared that on our show Facebook page as well, if you want to find it there, whichever you're more familiar with or can get to the easiest. Link there to the CacheValleyDaily.com story with all the details. And listeners, so again, as I've said, the comments on Facebook, very, very few comments saying, no, keep the mall. That seems to be I mean, to call it the minority opinion is an understatement. Hardly any comments saying keep the mall.
Well, I think people realize, I mean, it's especially having lost all their main anchors and then
JCPenney
and Cal Ranch pulling out to go to their own spot north of there. I mean, everybody knows that it's struggling. It's on fumes.
I just had another mall nostalgia moment. For some reason, what you said triggered this. The ZCMI toy section. I don't know if you ever went back there. They had an AT-AT.
I did not. I don't think I did.
They had the AT-AT Walker up on the top shelf where you couldn't reach it, and I spent probably 2 years just trying to, just needle my mother into buying that. Never got it. Never. I teased her about that the rest of my life. I remember when I didn't get the AT-AT Walker, the one toy I wanted it was the biggest Star Wars toy you could get and the most expensive. I think even then, as long ago as this was, I think it was $70 or $80, which was probably the equivalent of about $250 in today's dollars. It never got it. But I would drag her back to that tiny little ZCMI toy section there at the mall every single time we were in there. They had that little chocolate, was it See's can? No, it wasn't See's.
Russell Stover's?
Yeah,
Were they in there?
Operated right out of that central area inside the ZCMI portion of the mall. Sold chocolates and, I remember walking past that. It smells so good.
Now, we did have somebody that called and had an idea of
Darren,
what they could do with that property.
During the break there, Darren Darren kind of nails, I think, where. So I'll be honest with you. My opinion it has been slowly solidifying through this show. When we started the show today, I read the proposal. We need the housing. We need apartments. I would personally love a Target, this is a good space for all of that. But is it the best use of the space? The proposal is great. Is it the best? And that's kind of where Darren took things. During the news break there, he couldn't stick around to go on air, but Darren with a suggestion that both gets at that, let's ask these questions of what is the best use of the space, but with a specific proposal that highlights the need for that question, because Darren's proposal is very simple, and it's not something we have here yet. Darren said what Logan needs is a concert venue. These are,
I guess, indoor, right? Or
these would be
year-round.
Think like I'm guessing what he's talking about, because he mentioned 8,000 seats at one of them that he uses as an example, and maybe that would be a little too big, but it would fit in that space, designed the right way. I'm thinking I'm thinking more something like the Depot in Salt Lake, which ironically is attached to a mall that was struggling. Well, Gateway still is kind of struggling. They're trying their hardest, and that is an outdoor mall like I thought would be a great use of this space. But I've now changed my mind on that, reading all the comments here on Facebook and all the other proposals. But Darren's proposal is a great example. Now, I'm not saying a concert venue is the best use of the space, but I'm saying there is plenty of argument that it might be a better use of the space than 4 apartment buildings and a Target and a hotel. Again, we need all those things. This housing has to go somewhere. And I'll just shut that one down every time I see it. When I see someone say no more housing, that is so unrealistic. Unless you want to basically say to families, when your kids turn 18, they got to leave. There's just no room for them. So we've got to have more housing. And that's even without digging into how housing prices are kind of crippling people in a lot of ways right now. So we need more housing. And apartments are housing. They're a part of the picture. They need to go somewhere. And Logan's not exactly, surplus in space. So I'm not saying apartments are a bad use of this space. Again, the question for me, and as Darren's suggestion highlights, is it the best use of the space? Let's look into that. Let's dig into that. Because a concert venue, like a small, few thousand, maybe up to 8,000, as Darren suggested, concert venue would fit there. Logan doesn't have something like that. We do have the theaters, like the Eccles and that can be used as concert venues, but they have to be used in specific ways, and they also have to compete with the regular calendar there, which, by the way, will be unveiled on our show this Thursday. See how I snuck that plug in there? Wendy's is on. We'll join Charlie and I this Thursday at 4 for the unveiling of the 23-24 touring season there at the Eccles. 12 months of entertainment announced on our show. I'm pretty excited about this, if you can't tell. But so that's not a direct replacement for a concert venue. Logan does have the population to support some of these bands. And we're not talking a concert venue for just local bands. It could be used for that and would be. We're talking a concert venue that would actually draw, you're not going to get the Rolling Stones. You're not going to get, but I tell you, they haven't been here since the 80s when they came to the Spectrum, but Alabama still tours. And I guarantee if Logan had an 8,000-seat concert venue, they'd go there.
Their first concert. I can't. They came back, but I can't remember if I went to their second.
I don't remember.
But I remember their first concert up at the Spectrum.
Yeah.
What a show.
They passed out fans, like actual fans to all the fans. I think I've still got one somewhere maybe, but that's a great suggestion. But then also acknowledging for Darren and I, this is something that I would be excited about this. I would be excited about not because when you want to see, if you've got a band that you enjoy and they're not the Rolling Stones and they're playing at some of these smaller venues, you've got to go to Ogden or Salt Lake right now. Imagine not having to do that, to be able to a dedicated concert venue that will draw them in. That to me is a great proposal. There are others out there that are going to respond to that the way I did the Topgolf suggestion, which is I could care less about. I cannot think of a better way to waste that space than a Topgolf. But there are a lot of people that would disagree with me that would love to have a Topgolf here in Logan. It gets to this. You're not going to make everybody happy, but it gets to this idea that this proposal, while great, again, I think this proposal is really forward-thinking. And the 4 apartment buildings, the hotel, the Target, all of that would be well-used, sustainable, and when it comes to the housing, is in need. But again, is it the best use? 753-5868. Again, if this proposal moves ahead as writ, the demolition of the mall would begin this fall or the end of this year, is what they're saying, and or at latest early 2024. And within 2 years, they'd complete the apartment buildings, the hotel, and the retail space, which is, again, exactly the size Target demands to locate somewhere. So what do you think? 753-5868. Again, Darren couldn't stay during the news break there, but great suggestion from him. You could use, instead of... So Darren basically saying, likes the apartment buildings, likes the hotel, all that is needed, but instead of a Target... a local concert, a dedicated concert venue, a few thousand seats, and you'd be able to draw in some of these touring bands that are big but not Rolling Stones big, and get them right into Logan instead of all of us having to drive to Ogden and Salt Lake for that type of thing. One thing I would point out about the concert venue suggestion as well that Darren made there, that's forward thinking in a way that concert venues tend to, other than the pandemic, they tend to be recession proof. They tend to be generational. They change, and some are popular while others are not. And then that flips, and some are popular while other ones are not. So there's all of that, just like any industry. But concert venues in general, like theaters, are staples of cities, especially growing cities, and they do draw in a lot of economic activity in their own way. So again, even if you're listening to the concert venue proposal and you're thinking, I could care less, the point is, I think that's a great idea, by the way, but the point is there might be a better use of this space than this proposal as writ. 753-5868. Some of the texts we've gotten throughout the hour and some of the latest Facebook comments right after this.
Cache Valley Cruising, Cache Valley Cruising.
Are you ready for Cache Valley's biggest party? Rev your engines and join the fun at Cache Valley Cruising, June 29th through July 1st. This year, they're giving away a gorgeous 1973 Camaro Z28, silver with black stripes. And your ticket is your entry to win the car. But that's not all. The Top Rod of Utah returns, where you can feast your eyes on cars worth big money. And let's not forget the excitement of the poker run, the sock hop, and the swap meet, where you can find unique products and fun gift ideas. Then, get ready to catch the wave of nostalgia with the legendary Beach Boys as they perform all your favorite hits. Tickets are selling fast, so go to Lee's Marketplace or the Cache Valley Cruise-In website to buy tickets now. June 29th through July 1st at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
If you've ever passed by 485 North Main, you've likely noticed how well kept the property is. The grass is always green and the flower beds are always well kept and in bloom. What you see on the outside is exactly what you'll find inside. Care and attention to detail. Exactly what you want when you're dealing with one of your most important senses, your hearing. Dr. Daines' love and care for the community has always gone beyond the front steps at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. So if you're not hearing as well as you used to, stop in at 485 North Main in Logan or visit them online at cachehearing.com.
I love this. It's been a long time since the topic got enough listener attention to carry it throughout an entire show. We've talked about nothing else today, understandably, than this major development being proposed on the site of the Cache Valley Mall, meaning at the end of the year, if this proposal goes forward, at the end of the year, the mall would be torn down, knocked down, and over the next 2 years would be replaced by 4 apartment buildings, a hotel, and enough space for a single retail location, which happens to be the exact amount of space Target requires. So let's just say it. This would be 4 apartment buildings, a hotel, and a Target, where now currently sits the Cache Valley Mall. Online, hundreds of comments on our Facebook page, the News Talk KVNU Facebook page. Our news team posted this earlier this morning, and throughout the day it's collected hundreds of comments. Very few saying keep the mall, but most of them great disagreement over the use of the space. A lot of people saying this is a horrible place for apartments. Others saying instead of another retail location like Target, we've got enough of that. Here's a comment that kind of sums it up. Let's go ahead and agree we are plumb flush. I love that phrase. Plumb flush with car washes and retail shopping of the box store kind. We've got enough for Logan for now. Let's do something else here than a Target. I think that is a fair... Now, I don't know...
They could do a mega car wash.
Yeah.
One that could...
Yeah, Target-sized car wash.
Yeah,
right?
Could handle
just churn people too.
30 cars at one time.
Well, I'm trying to... I tried to count in my own head, and I think within a 2-block radius of the mall, there are 5 car washes I can think of. 2 blocks north, 2 blocks east, west, and south. 5 different car washes you could get to. Maybe 3 blocks around the mall. Yeah, we got plenty of car washes. I'm not opposed to a Target. I would love to have a Target here in the Valley. I think a Target is definitely sustainable. I am sympathetic to those in the comments here, talking about doing something more recreational. And as Darren, who called during the news break at the bottom of the hour, couldn't stay to go on air, said, what about a concert venue? We don't have one of those. They're huge draws. You do start to get some of these, smaller touring bands through, and we don't currently do that. If you want to see, a band, there's a band I really enjoy called Milky Chance. They're newish.
I've heard of them. I don't know if I've heard their music.
They've only been around for about 10 years, so they're maybe younger than my general age range, music style wise, is allowed to like. But I love them, and they tour. They're from Germany, but they tour constantly. But you can only see them in Salt Lake. Now, I'm not saying a band like that is going to be a huge draw in Logan, Utah. But so that's an example of how a concert venue might not work, because that's the type of band you're probably going to draw.
Yeah, well, and with the concert thing, the big names are always going to look at the Wasatch Front first.
And you can see why.
Around Salt Lake.
Yeah. I want to retract you might get about Alabama in here, because they can still fill the Maverick Center. That was the last place they played. Mitch Henline and I went. I was a witness to them filling it. Man, Mitch has a huge cowboy hat, by the way.
Really?
Any longtime Full Court Press listeners
have that big
would
of a
have
head.
never guessed that. But, yeah.
It's got a normal
15,
size
16-gallon cowboy hat he wears when he goes to concerts. Anyway.
Does he need help carrying it?
So, yeah, I mean, Alabama probably is a bad example. I was reaching for a band that would be an example, but let's just call them like the B-level bands. We don't get them here in Logan. We can't get them here in Logan. They end up in Ogden or Salt Lake at some of the smaller venues, and that's not a huge drive. But a dedicated concert venue, you would get them here. Probably not the big names, like Bill said. They're always going to. The economic decision for them is always going to draw them to the Wasatch Front or Salt Lake, because there's more people to buy tickets, plainly. But as a concert venue would work here. And again, Darren's proposal, even if that's not for you, just like the Top Golf proposal is very much not for me with the use of this space, it gets to this idea again that there are questions that should be asked. Is a Target the best we can do? For apartment buildings, is that the best we can do? I'm leaning yes, and you should really see the sketch of the proposal in the CashValleyDaily.com story as well, because it gives you a good idea of what we're talking about here. I'm not saying this proposal is wrong-headed or headed in the wrong direction. Where I've landed, picking through the Facebook comments, having my own opinions challenged by some of the things other people have written here, and some of our callers this hour and more, I think it's worth just a bit of a pause. Let's go ahead with this. Let's plan on tearing the mall down this fall. But in between now and then, let's talk about what is built in its place, or if it can be built in a different way so as to allow for other options. Maybe something more creative than a retail space, or maybe not. Dewey was on the line there before the news break, former manager of the Cache Valley Mall, and he said he was part of research that was being done at the time showing this proposal is exactly where everyone agreed space that, where malls were located. This is the direction it was all going. So... yeah, it's, by the way, a couple of texts we didn't get to through the hour. Texters want to know what this would do to the traffic flow through the block. Well, that is included in the details of the proposal and reported at CashValleyDaily.com by our own Eric Franzen. But to give you an idea, the ground floor of the hotel would be also kind of a commercial and real estate tenant spot, like a little mini indoor mall, the ground floor of the hotel. And then 3 floors of hotel space above that. And that would be built in this current design, which can be changed. That would mean the current right-of-way that connects Main Street to 200 East, that would be So you drive through the hotel property, just north. At that entrance, just north of Arby's, that would go straight through the hotel property. So that to give you an idea of how this would be designed, it's not a bad proposal. We'll see. Again, Logan City, I'm sure will be announcing soon some of the public hearing dates and city council discussions on this. But the proposal was submitted to the city. The Logan Planning Commission and Logan City Council are going to weigh some changes to the proposal. Zoning changes would be required. So there's going to be a lot of discussion about this. If you live in Logan, you care about this space, plug in, read the story at CashValleyDaily.com, chime in the comments on our Facebook page. And thanks for joining us today. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.